Welcome in, everyone. This is our flow recap for the week of 5/27 to 5/30. Shorter week. Market was closed on Monday for Memorial Day. So we got a kind of a shorter list here that we're going to go through. And as always, if you're tuning in for the first time, majority of these are posted in Stock Hub here. So I like to show everybody everything's posted in real time. Go over everything's posted here. I don't edit my posts. I don't change anything around. So everything that we're recapping is posted in our channels where we recap the flow. So first up, we are going to do our flow and charts play here. So we will get started with that here. So we had the 718 RDD Reddit 110 call here. So this was our flow and charts play for the week. This was, we'll actually pull it up in Discord here first, and let me do that here. So we had Reddit here. So this was posted on the 27th after market close, so this would have been valid starting on 5/28. So we had a large whale on the 718 call, average of 2,000, or not an average of 2,000, 2,108 contracts traded at 851. Total premium of 1.79 million. So you can see here can see that IV popping here as you got that big size and premium coming in here. You can see that IV coming in popping each time that flow is coming in. Then we have some repeated hits here with that IV increasing again. Very good textbook read there of the flow. You can see it's a clean entry. Good volume against that open interest. We know it's an opening trade. A little longer term here. Looking at the daily gamma here, obviously your last 3 days at the time, you were seeing an increase here to the upside. And when we look at the chart here, on the daily chart here, obviously your uptrend here, you're sitting in a demand zone, kind of bouncing off that demand zone. Good sign there. Whoops. So now when we go back and look at the flow here, so again, this was that whale entry here on the 27th. We would be valid on the 28th because this was posted at night. I did a starting average of about 874 here. I got filled about 880-ish, so just kind of going around there. Obviously, spreads are a little wider at open, so but 874 here, and these move same day and into the next couple days as well. We hit a high of 1380 there on the 29th here, so that is a 57.89% move on those. So that was our flow and charts play, and for those that are kind of newer, flow and charts plays are my high conviction trades more than anything, so we're kind of looking at that. So now let's get back to our flow alerts here. So that was the Reddit 718 110 call. So we're going to start here with the AMD 73125 call. So this one, we had that flow come in here, 1,300 contracts, 295. Looks like this whale sold these for probably about a loss around that 240, because you can kind of see here. So again, the 27th, you can see all that volume kind of carrying over. A lot of volume there on the 29th, and not seeing a lot of that carry over into the 30th. So that whale probably cut those for around that 240-ish, around there, or pass them off technically, because you didn't see a decrease in that open interest either. So, or actually you saw an add there, but not that full amount being added in there. So I'm putting those at a loss at about 239, so 18% there. So the Reddit we went over. So the 613 Tesla 400 calls here. So again, going back to the 27th here, let me pop this here, Tuesday. So we got in here at 689-ish in here. So this was our trigger here. So again, you see when that flow comes in, spike in that IV, small little drop in that IV, but you can kind of see it come back up here as well. So good sign there. And again, at the time, you saw that net call premium coming up here too, so you kind of could get a sentiment on Tesla that the sentiment's going to be bullish here. And when we pop back out to Friday here from the 27th, so 27th here, these did move same day. Did come up and hit that high of 850, but we did hit 920 here on the 29th as well. So about here it opened, gonna have some wider spreads. But hitting that 920, so from that 689 to 920, that's a 33.53% gain on those. Up next, the 530 NBIS 40.5 calls. These expired Friday. So this is a good reason why I always tell people to adjust up stops, and you kind of got to have your own play. So here's our flow. 1,100 contracts, 109, 119,000 in premium. We come in here and look at that raw flow feed. Let me pop this down. So now this one is a good example too. So you can see typically we're looking for that IV to increase. So you see it decrease here, and this is repeated its descending fill. I always look where that descending fill is right away, and this is why it's triggering that descending fill here. 104, and that's where that IV decreases there a little bit too, and then we pop back up to the ask, and then this is where that big size comes in here and that big IV spike. So we see that IV spike, that spot coming in pretty much right at the ask, a lot of size, a lot of premium. Now let's pop this out to Friday, and this is why it's important to always adjust up stops. So here is your whale here from our entry. Kind of chopped here. I mean, we hit 112 that same day. Not a huge premium. I kind of look for at least 10-15% to kind of secure some profits. If I'm up 10-15%, I still have stops on. I'm just kind of adjusting them up manually. I like to secure profits. At least 10% should be breaking even on that if you're up 10%. But kind of looking in here, we dip that next day, and you can see, so from our 27th here, you can see we had a lot of that volume carry over. Had a lot of volume here on the 29th as well, and some of that dropped off here. But when we come here, you can see that 172 probably isn't correct, but looking at the 29th here, you can see we hit about 120 in here a couple times, 120, 123 here. So that 109 to 123, I mean, 12%, it's a decent gain. You hit it twice. You should probably have stops up if you, at that point where you dropped and then went back up. But this is why you can see that whale closing here on the 29th for a loss here. Not that full reflection there. Only had about 600 drop off, but obviously some other contracts traded in the day. But you can see that clean exit here. They sold those for a loss, 109. They sold them at 37. Again, they were up about 12%. And you are sitting 27% multi-leg. Those expired Friday. So those, again, 109 to 123, 12%. You hit that a couple times in here. So enough time to kind of hopefully adjust your stops up. So we also had another Reddit call come in as well. So 27th here, this was our Reddit spike. Come in here again, can see a theme here. Spike in that IV. Small little drop there, but we come back up. That IV continues to increase here. Again, watching that spot price increasing here. That IV increasing, looks good there. And you can see this was our entry. Ran here, small little pop that next day, then kind of a small drop, but then we really hit that high here on the 29th. Hit a high of 7 there on the 29th. That's 136.49% return. And I'm doing the full range of the contracts too. So you're obviously not expected to exit at the peak. Probably not going to happen. I just like to show that full range of the contract for everybody. So again, those Reddits, good return there. SOFI, the 620 13.5 calls. Here was our entry, 69. Come here, we look at that raw flow. Let's take a peek. Come down here, you can see spike in that IV. Coming in at the ask here, just following this up. Following that ask up, it's a repeated hits also. You can see that flow looks good. And when we come back here and look at that 27th as well too, we had a lot of call premium that day as well. So, and this one's a little interesting. So there's still some time on these. Obviously, you're not too far out of the money, but coming back, they're trading at about 60 right now, so that whale would be down 13% on those. And again, some of these that didn't make a move, feel free to do whatever you want with this information. Just obviously got to be cautious. So that one was one of our losers for the week. 69, that's trading at 60, down 13%. DJT now. So again, clean flow here, 27,000 contracts at 235, 6.5 million. Again, watch this IV as we come up, spike in that IV. Can see that spot being filled there, and kind of watching that flow in between too, because it's very similar time-wise. So spike in that IV, can see more repeated hits coming in at the ask. Well, these ones coming in at the middle a little bit more, but again, see that spike in that IV. Then you come up here, and this is our big floor trade entry. Big spike in the IV again. Spot coming in at the ask. Big size, big premium. And when we look at that flow, again, and I do want to show this as well, looking here again at the 28th now. So we look at the 28th, look at that spike in that net put premium, big spike. A lot of that call premium dropped off. Then we will look at that contract move, 235. These hit a high of 281 here on the 30th. That's a 67.26% return. So good move on those. HIMS. So we had, let me switch this in here a little bit. So this was our entry on the 28th. 523 contracts, 425 to 28K. Again, now we have a bid side candle that same day. And you come here and look at that next day. That volume did not carry over, but these did hit a high of 529 on the 30th. So again, sometimes these whales aren't always going to be correct, and they will cut for a loss. But you can see down here, obviously, had a lot of time on these ones too, and they did drop down to 352. When I see longer term flow like this, what I like to do is I kind of like to look for a spot on the chart where I can kind of chart something out, where I look for a support or a resistance, depending on if it's a call or put, obviously, and kind of go from there. I'm not going to follow these whales off a cliff or anything. You should always have your own plan going into something, but you know, if you would have got a good dip buy here, you would have ran from like maybe mid threes all the way up to 529. So these did still make a move from that 425 to 529. Nice 24.47% move on those. Now we have these ABBV 531.82 5 puts. Interesting one here because you look at that flow here, just keeping an eye on that IV. Your IV stays up, you're coming in at the ask. Now again, not all flow is going to work. This is why I'm always stressing having risk management, being smart, and having a good setup. Because this whale, these came up, hit 222, and then you just tank that next day. And again, I wouldn't let something fall down to 40 cents even if that whale's still in. Probably start cutting once you see that price really dropping there. But seeing a little bid side here, so I'm just going to kind of go with that right now. Obviously, these expired Friday. But that whale, I'm going to put it at about 150-ish maybe. I mean, that's probably something where you'd think about cutting on a Friday when they expire. So this whale would have probably, or smart person would have probably cut around 30% or so. And 30% is a little high on my high end too. So coin up next, the 66280 calls. So again, our other loser for the week here. And this whale came in on the 29th. Let's move this to the 29th. So we had two big spikes here. Obviously, they weren't the same size, so you could kind of assume that they're opening these. So looking at the 29th here, you can see all that volume. Majority of it carrying over. Obviously, some bid side stuff here, so you're not seeing that full amount carry over. But coming back here to Friday now. So again, those little candles, looks like they probably took them off about 95, 87-ish there. So probably sold those for about a 51% loss or so. And we are seeing a lot of multi-leg on here too as well. So kind of keep that in mind too. So that was our other loser for the week there. And again, unlike a lot of people, I like to recap all the flow I'm posting. I won't just post 10,000 pieces of flow and then just point out the winners. I like to recap everything. So the 620 TEVA, 17.5 calls. So let's take a peek at these. So again, first up, obviously looking at that volume to open interest. Can tell it's an opening trade just mathematically there. Majority of that carrying over. So 65 here. Let's pop these results down a little bit. So again, coming in with repeated hits here. IV staying up. I don't want to go to that next page because it's going to probably glitch because it's a little older. But again, seeing that spike in that IV there too. When that other size and premium come in, we can give it a try and see if it'll show us. Yeah, sometimes when it's a little older, it's kind of a little goofy, but again, these from that 65, these came up and hit 81 to almost 3 times here on the same day. So that's a 23% intraday move. And again, some time on those. And this is why I always say adjust up stops. You can always re-enter if you're collecting profits. Because now we had a dip here on Friday. And we're down at 45. So that could be a good dip buying opportunity because it doesn't look like a lot of that volume came off. Again, have to be smart when you're following just random pieces of flow. I mean, everything can be laid out perfect and the flow might not work. So up next we have the AMAT 155 627 puts. Nice move on these. Here was our flow 450. Pop the results down. So again, see right when these repeated hits start coming in, spike in the IV, coming in at the ask, little wider bid ask, so you're showing urgency there. Just following this up. Flow looks good. Come back, and I do want to just kind of keep that net put premium up here. So had a little dip in that net put premium, but again, the put premiums, there's another science behind this. Just because you see a big drop here, this could have been a roll, and you're seeing a lot of that bid side put premium. Doesn't mean this is going to be bullish, bearish. I use this kind of separate of this, but this combining them helps a lot too. This is a whole different video here. So these running from that, we said 450 here, and we hit a high of 690 here on Friday. So that's a 53.33% return there. Now we're on to Friday. So a lot of this flow, good intraday moves today. The Lily 718, 760 calls. Again, looking at that flow as it comes in. And again, don't let something that's a repeated hit descending fill scare you off. Just find where it's a descending fill. And right here, 26.44. You're coming in 1 cent below the ask on a higher bid ask spread. That's not something that concerns me. So just following this up, IV increasing. You're seeing that ask side fills. That IV increased all the way up. We made a good move on these, 26.47. We hit a high of 39.95 intraday, so 51% intraday move here. The 66 GE 245 calls. Again, another good intraday move here on Friday. See that IV spike, and again, you're going to see a pattern to all these videos. Ask side fills, that IV increasing or staying about the same. And that spot coming in at the ask. And we made a good move here, 345, hit 480 on the day. That is a 39.13% intraday move there. And again, you're 5 days out on these. I would be securing profits at close. I mean, you know, Theta is more aggressive over the weekend. You know, there can be news drops over the weekend. Again, this kind of just comes with time in the market and kind of knowing the overall situation. I do guide my group and kind of tell people I'm not a big fan of swinging over the weekend right now with all the news drops. But again, to each their own. And then we have the 718 APLD 10 calls. These closing at break even actually. So 5,000 contracts coming in at 37 cents, 185. We're closing at 37 cents. So kind of, and these coming in obviously in the last hour of the day. So a little hard to kind of break something down like that when you got 47 days on them too. But that's our flow recap for the week. Little shorter video. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll be back at it on Monday. Oh, and if you're new to this video and you stayed to the end, again, a lot of these are posted in Stock Hub. $19 a month, not even $1 a day. I do these videos pretty much every week unless it's a really short week. And if you want to try Unusual Whales, I do have a discount code as well in the description. Otherwise, that's all we have for today. Have a great rest of your weekend, everyone.